Hello, hello. So, cold card wallet hack. This is the worst cold hardware wallet hack that we've ever seen in the history of hardware wallets. So far, $114 million in Bitcoin has been stolen across 5,000 different wallet addresses. So, really, what I want to do in this video is break down what happened with cold card, why it is insecure, um, show you some things that you can look at to at least help you identify if a wallet is secure, and then also look into the methods that people are currently recommend to generate secure seed phrases, things like rolling dice, setting up multi-sig passphrases, and things like that, and kind of the pros and cons of those things. And by the end of this video, I hope that there is a little bit of clarity and you have some sort of direction on what you want to do next to secure your crypto. That said, I don't have all the answers, but if you do have any questions, comments, concerns, please drop them in the chat below and I'll do my best to answer them. If I don't know, I'll just tell you I don't know. So I think the best place to start is with what makes what the foundation of a secure hardware wallet is. So entropy is the foundation of every self-custodial wallet. And the simplest way to describe entropy is um, is randomness. It's random bits of data. That's what entropy is. So when it comes to hardware wallets, what's considered secure entropy is 128 bits to 256 bits of data. That's the industry standard, if you will. But basically, more entropy means that the wallet is harder to guess. So, how the entropy is created also determines, if it's truly random or not. So, most hardware wallets use either a TRNG or a CSPRNG. So, a TRNG is a true random number generator. A CSPRNG is a cryptographically secure pseudo random number generator. And really, all that means is that it's just a method for generating entropy. And both of those methods use elements that are almost impossible to recreate. So we're talking about like thermal heat inside the chip, electrical noise, and different currents and things like that. And they literally use that stuff to randomly generate the keys. Now, most wallets on the market have the proper hardware to generate truly random keys or to generate sufficient entropy. And that includes ColdCard. ColdCard does have a TRNG or a true random number generator, I believe, inside the secure chip. But there is a problem. ColdCard actually has had multiple ways to generate entropy. And when you have multiple ways of generating entropy, there are pros and cons to that. But basically, you have to introduce the software side of it. And unfortunately, with ColdCard, there was however you want to call it, an error, a mistake, a backdoor. Nobody really knows, but let's just call it a mistake. There was a mistake in the firmware that basically bypassed the TRNG, and it fell back to a less secure version of entropy called PRNG, which is just pseudo random number generator. And this kind of entropy is not cryptographically secure. In other words, it looks like it's creating a truly random set of numbers or string of numbers, but it's actually not secure. And that led to seed phrases that could be guessed. Now, like I said, 128 bits and 256 bits of entropy is the industry standard. With 128 bits of entropy, you're looking at, tens, hundreds, thousands of years to guess that. And same with 256 bits of entropy, you're looking at thousands and thousands of years to guess a seed phrase with proper entropy. Now, we compare that to ColdCard's entropy using that PRNG instead of the TRNG. So the ColdCard MK2 and MK3 were estimated at about 40 bits of entropy. 40 bits of entropy Again, it looks secure if you're just looking at it with your eyes, but it's not secure at all. Um, that's roughly 1.1 trillion different outcomes, which sounds like a lot, but it's not. So with 1.1 potential outcomes, what the hackers did is, as far as I know, is they used AI to basically guess the seed phrases because it wasn't random enough. The entropy was too small. Um, and then the MK4, MK5, and ColdCard Q, ColdCard or CoinKite said that they were using about 72 bits of entropy, which would take, tens of years to guess. But the fact that some MK4s, users of MK4s, reported that their Bitcoin was stolen, along with some research from other companies, estimates that the entropy for really all their models was probably somewhere around 40 bits because um, as all these seed phrases were guessed, they probably started guessing before the actual attack started occurring. So maybe, over the last few months or maybe even the last few years, because this vulnerability has existed for the last 5 years. So but yeah, it's either way, 40 bits, 72 bits, that is below the industry standard. The main takeaway from the entropy part is that if you're using a wallet that generates um, good entropy, which is 128 bits to 256 bits at least, then it's going to be secure in terms of its randomness. So I think the big question now is how do we know other wallets are safe? How do we know that they're using good entropy, at least 128 bits? And I think there are some things that we can look at. But ultimately, I don't think there's a way that anyone could ever know 100%. The interesting thing about really everything is we always have to trust someone. And a lot of people will say that open source code is the solution to this. Well, unless you know how to read the code yourself, how to find vulnerabilities, and things like that, even if you're using a device that has open source code, you're still trusting someone. You're trusting the community. You're trusting a security researcher. Again, unless you're building these products yourself and actually understand the developer side of it, you're still going to trust someone. And there's always going to be a layer of trust. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're using a cold wallet, right? You're still trusting the wallet manufacturer to some degree. If you're keeping your crypto on an exchange, you still have to trust the crypto exchange. You have to trust the blockchain network that your crypto lives on to even be in crypto. You have to trust that the Bitcoin network is secure. But why do we trust that Bitcoin is secure? Well, for the last 16, 17 years, it's proven to be secure. And we also have experts in the industry who tell us that it's secure. So there's always a layer of trust. And I don't think trustless actually equals a truly trustless society. Trustless just means that there are things that we can look to and maybe implement that allows us to trust a little bit less. But I don't think there's a fully trustless world, especially as consumers. Like, I don't know how to read code. I don't know how to build a hardware wallet myself. If I went and designed a hardware wallet, I would have to go out and find the experts to help me do it, right? So unless you are that expert, you're going to have to trust someone. And we have a lot of data that tells us, what maybe is secure and what isn't secure. You also have to trust that data. So unless you're going to go out and find that data on your own and verify that it's true, or unless you're going to become the expert, there's always going to be a layer of trust that you're not going to get away from. And that's true for open source code as well. And to be completely transparent, ColdCard has been open source. Their firmware has been open source, at least for the last 5 years, where this vulnerability has existed in public eye. And there are even some reports that this vulnerability was pointed out years ago, and nobody did anything about it or said anything about it necessarily. I guess some people said some things, but nothing ever came from it, right? So it's interesting. So I think the next thing, again, unless you're a developer, maybe you create your own wallet, things like that, I think it's really hard to say with certainty that anything is 100% secure. And just to be clear, nothing is 100% secure. whether that's your hardware wallet, the crypto exchange, the blockchain network, um, your government's military defense system. It's impossible to make something 100% secure. Cybersecurity isn't a destination. You don't arrive at secure. It's an ongoing path. So I just want to point that out. That said, again, we have data and we have experts that we're going to look to. That's just the reality of the space. So I want to kind of break down some of the things that we can look at as consumers and things that I look at to kind of determine, and use our best judgment if a wallet is secure or not. To be, and again, and I'm not saying, I'm not hating on anyone who recommended ColdCard. I've never recommended using ColdCard on this channel, mainly because it just wasn't a wallet that was appealing to me. They promoted that they were the most secure Bitcoin wallet, and with that, they had just a ton of different security features. And to me, that was actually a turnoff because it just seemed overly complex. It's like they were hiding quite frankly, the wallet looked cheap to me. I've commented on this, previously before. It looks like a calculator. But it just, there was something off about it to me. And I'm not saying, I predicted that or anything like that, but I'm just, sometimes you have to lean into your gut feeling as well. And my gut feeling with ColdCard is that it's not a wallet that I would personally use, so I didn't recommend it. That said, what can we look for? So one thing that I've always looked at almost since I first started getting into hardware wallets was certified secure chips. So the industry standard and what you'll see in most secure chips, and for those of you who don't know, a secure chip is basically where all the cryptographic processes happen inside of a hardware wallet. So that's where, the keys, that's where entropy occurs, or at least part of the entropy occurs inside the secure chip using the TRNG. Your private keys inside the secure chip, transactions are signed using your private keys inside the secure chip. So the secure chip is extremely important because it basically handles all of the cryptographic processes of your wallet. So the industry standard for secure chips is something called a common criteria, which is just a rating that they give different chips, right? So the most common you'll see in crypto is EAL 5 plus and EAL 6 plus. I believe the highest EAL level you can achieve is EAL 7. There are no EAL 7 chips on the market, at least in hardware wallets. I know that Ngrave is EAL 7 rated, but that's its operating system. Ngrave actually uses an EAL 5 secure chip with an EAL 7 operating system. But EAL 5 and EAL 6 means that the chip has gone through some pretty intense testing and is immune to a lot of the attacks that you might come across in crypto. So it's independently tested. They're designed to protect secrets, and most of the reputable hardware wallets use some kind of certified secure chip. Ledger uses an ST Microelectronics EAL 6 plus chip. Tangem uses a Samsung EAL 6 plus chip. Trezor uses, I think, on their older safe models, an Infineon EAL 6 plus chip, and then they also have their own chip, the Tropic Square 01, which isn't EAL rated. And that's something that I kind of want to point out, is that ColdCard and other open source wallets, oftentimes they don't use EAL rated chips, or their chips have no formal EAL rating, which doesn't mean they're instantly not secure. But it is kind of, again, it's just data that we can look at to determine if something is secure. So ColdCard uses, I think, depending on which model of wallet you're talking about, uses two different types of secure chips. Neither of them are EAL rated. And one of the main reasons for that is because EAL rated chips, there's very few manufacturers in the world who create these bank grade EAL chips. And a lot of the manufacturers who do create them are closed source. They've spent billions of dollars and decades hardening their products. And as a result, they keep these chips behind wrapped doors, right? They don't want people knowing their secrets. That's to keep the integrity of the security and to have a competitive advantage just in the secure chip market. So when you have wallets like Ledger and Tangem and whatever else using these EAL chips, they actually sign non-disclosure agreements with the chip manufacturer saying, hey, we're not going to reveal any of your secrets. And that's why wallets like Ledger and Tangem are partially closed source. Ledger is 95% open source, but that small 5% part um, is really dealing with the secure chip. And then Tangem as well. Tangem's app is 100% open source, but the firmware is closed source, and the firmware runs on the Samsung chip inside the card. So those are just some examples. So ColdCard being open source didn't use any formally rated chips. So again, having a formally rated, and there's other certifications and ratings as well. It's not just EAL, but that is the most common that I see. And again, it's not like a guarantee if you use a wallet with an EAL rated chip, it's 100% secure, because again, that's impossible. But it is more data that we can look at to determine or to help us decide, is this wallet less likely to be secure or is it more likely to be secure? So that's something that I've always looked at. Something else, and this is kind of a debate right now, is only using wallets that have multiple entropy sources. So, some wallets, Ledger and I believe Tangem, and Tangem's kind of different because it actually, depending how you set up the wallet, whether seedless or with the seed phrase, it uses a different entropy method. But wallets like Ledger only have one entropy source, and that is the TRNG inside the secure chip. Now, the pros to having one entropy source is there's not any other external factors getting involved, like with ColdCard. The downside with one entropy source is if that entropy source fails, then you have a seed phrase that is essentially weak. Whereas if you have multiple entropy sources, the wallet relies on, it has backups basically. So ColdCard had multiple entropy sources, and unfortunately, because there was a mistake in the firmware, it didn't use the most important entropy source, which is the TRNG, which led to this hack. So I wouldn't say that using a wallet that has multiple entropy sources instantly means it's more secure. Likewise, a wallet with a single entropy source isn't instantly secure as well. There's pros and cons to both. Again, the downside to multiple entropy sources is it's just more complex code, so there's more room for mistakes. More code means more bugs potentially. And another thing with the single entropy sources that are used in like Ledger and Tangem wallets, the TRNG, that are built into the secure chip, these are tested and audited, right? Because they're using EAL rated chips. So again, this is all just data that we can look at to subjectively decide, is this wallet likely to be more secure or less secure? That's all we're looking at right now. So both approaches have trade-offs. Now, the next thing, which I already kind of touched on, is the open source versus closed source debate. So open source code, the easiest way to describe that is the rules of the wallet, the code that defines how the wallet operates. Open source means that those rules are publicly available for anyone and everyone to review. So you could assume and imagine that closed source is the opposite. The rules that define how the wallet operates is kept private to the company. So the pros to open source code is that the hardware wallet manufacturer is less likely to hide a backdoor in the firmware or in the code because it's public facing. If they put a backdoor into it, you would think that someone would notice that and they'd be like, hey, wallet brand X, why do you have a backdoor in your code? And they'd be like, oh no, that's not supposed to be there. That said, that's just not always how it works out. Again, ColdCard's firmware has been open source, and the vulnerability in their firmware was sitting there for 5 years, and nothing ever came from it. Let's say that. I think some people pointed it out, but nothing ever came from it. So having an open source wallet doesn't instantly equal having a more secure wallet. It only works if the community and researchers are looking at these wallets code. If they're not, it doesn't matter. You could put literally you could put anything in the code. If nobody's looking at it, they're not going to see it, right? They're not going to find anything. Now, another thing about open source code is not only can the good guys look at it, so the security researchers, the white hat hackers, but the black hat hackers, the bad guys can also look at the code. You can't prevent the good guys or the bad guys from looking at it and only allow the good guys to look at it. Everyone has the same data. So that's one of the downsides to open source is it is publicly available. If a bad actor finds a vulnerability and exploits it first before the good actor, um, we end up in a cold card situation where $100 million in Bitcoin is stolen. That's the downside to open source code. I will say another pro to open source code is if people are reviewing it, vulnerabilities are found quicker. They can be communicated responsibly to the manufacturer, and then these vulnerabilities can get fixed quicker, which is ultimately hardening the wallet. It's making a more secure product, and that's the only way to make secure products. You have to find the vulnerabilities, you have to address them, and you have to fix them if they need fixed. That's how. That's why cybersecurity isn't a destination. It's ever evolving, and I'm not a cybersecurity expert. That's just my understanding of it. So open source code. Open source code is less likely that a hacker is going to be able to find a vulnerability and exploit it because they can't even look at the code. The main downside to closed source code is that you are putting more trust into the manufacturer. So, in theory, if the manufacturer wanted to put in a backdoor that, granted them access to the wallet or something, in theory, they could do that and nobody would know it. But again, that's pretty much what happened with ColdCard, and they were open source. So having an open source or a closed source wallet alone is not enough to decide if it's secure or not. And I don't think there's one right answer. Personally, I don't like to use 100% closed source wallets. Like there are some wallets that everything is closed source, the app is closed source, the firmware is closed source, all the little pieces of the hardware and the code in the hardware is closed source. The best example I could think of would be Decent. Decent is a 100% closed source wallet. That we have no way of verifying anything they say is true, right? Because it's closed source. So I use a lot of mixed source wallets, if you will. Again, Ledger is 95% open source. Tangem, I don't even know how you would describe that. The app is 100% open source. The firmware is closed source. So let's just call it 50-50. But there are also some reputable open source wallets like Trezor, right? Trezor invented the hardware wallet. And in fact, a lot of people still use the first ever hardware wallet created, which is the Trezor Model 1. This wallet, even though it's been upgraded and more security features and hardware has been added, this wallet is it's over a decade old and it's still securing people's crypto. So again, it goes both ways. Pros and cons to everything. I'm just giving you the data that you can look at and ultimately decide what you feel is best. That said, there's also some interesting things when it comes to open source and closed source wallets, and that is the independent third-party security audits. So these security audits is when outside experts, so there are security companies that wallet manufacturers can pay a lot of money, like hundreds of thousands of dollars, to basically try to break their wallets, right? They get access to their code, they get access to the insides of the wallet, to all the hardware, and they use all that to try to hack the wallet. And whatever vulnerabilities these security auditors find, they outline it, they put it into a document and give it to the hardware wallet manufacturer and say, hey, these are all the vulnerabilities we found. These are the priorities that you need to fix right now. These ones, they're technically a vulnerability, but they probably won't have any impact on the user or on the device itself, but it is there. Now, the interesting thing about the independent audits is that a lot of open source hardware wallets don't go out of their way to necessarily pay for independent or formal audits, right? Because their code is open source. They kind of just rely on the community and security researchers to find vulnerabilities. And one way they kind of incentivize people to do that is by having a bug bounty program. And a bug bounty program is basically like, hey, if you find a vulnerability and this vulnerability is a serious threat to the security of the device, we'll pay you $100,000. So there usually is some kind of incentive for that, right? Because why would someone just waste their time looking at ColdCard's firmware if there wasn't some kind of incentive? That said, I don't know off the top of my head. Maybe someone can look it up real quick. If ColdCard has a bug bounty program, I know Trezor does. I know Tangem does. I know Ledger does. I don't know if ColdCard does. But that's the interesting thing is a lot of these hardware wallet manufacturers that are 100% open source are not going out of their way to get independent third-party security audits done, at least for their firmware. At least for their firmware. Whereas these closed source wallets or partially closed source or mixed source wallets, they do go out of their way to get these independent security audits because they have to. Otherwise, because they understand that as consumers and as users, if we don't have someone else telling us that the wallet is secure, we're probably going to be like, should we trust you? So like Ledger, they've had multiple security audits done. They also have their own security team, of course, that audits other hardware wallet brands. Tangem has had multiple security audits done. Kudelski Security, Riskier, and another one. The most recent one was this year in 2026 for Tangem. And something you can look for and look into is if these reports are publicly available. I know for Tangem, you can go, I found it on Google. If you type in like Tangem wallet security audits, and then it was like a couple links down on Google for me. They actually have all their security audits, and you can download the PDF of the results of the audit from the auditor. So you can actually look at, it was like one of them said, we found 12 vulnerabilities and Tangem patched all the vulnerabilities, things like that. So it's just interesting. I think independent third-party security audits are important. And I think open source code is also important. But if no one is actually reviewing the code in an open source wallet, then again, we end up in a ColdCard situation. So neither one is a guarantee. Just because a hardware wallet brand has independent third-party security audits doesn't mean that there aren't more vulnerabilities, right? Again, cybersecurity, it's not a destination. It is an ongoing journey. That said, I know that's kind of a lot to remember. You want to look at the chip certification. You want to look at potential vulnerabilities. You want to look at the actual secure chips that maybe the wallet uses and look into those secure chips. So that said, when I made a video about a couple months back, I gathered data for about 44 different hardware wallets. And this data I put into a spreadsheet. It's just a simple Google Doc that only I can edit, but everyone has access to. So it has all the popular brands: Tangem, Ledger, ColdCard, EliPal, Keystone, all those brands. It tells you the model, the wallet type, what security chips are used, their EAL rating, whether it's open, closed, or mixed source, and any publicly disclosed vulnerabilities. And I am continually updating this list. Like I just updated the ColdCard section for obviously what's going on right now. But if you want access to that, I call it my cold wallet research database. The link to that Google Doc is down in the description of this live stream. And again, it's just a public Google Doc that anyone can view, and only I have access to edit it. So if you want to check that out, that resource is down in the description, and that can kind of help guide you, at least for like looking into maybe what wallet you would want to choose. Okay, so now I want to get into some of the things that people are recommending, and keep dropping your comments, questions, and concerns. Again, I'm going to get to them once I get through what I want to get through here. So one of the main things that I've been seeing with ColdCard is you should have rolled your own dice. So what the heck does that even mean? I was reading on X that some people had been in Bitcoin for 10 years and they've never even heard the term rolling the dice. So rolling the dice literally means rolling dice and generating your wallet's entropy from those dice. So some wallets including ColdCard. Keystone is another one. When you go to set up the wallet, most wallets, when you go to set it up, it'll just be like create a seed phrase. Some wallets have a dice roll option. So you buy some legitimate casino dice, and you have to roll these dice, and then you input each number of each dice. You input the numbers into the hardware wallet, and this creates the entropy. So 50 rolls is equal to about 128 bits of entropy, which is the equivalent of a 12-word seed phrase. 100 rolls is the equivalent to about 256 bits of entropy, which is a 24-word seed phrase. Now, it works if done correctly. The thing that I've seen or that I've noticed through my research is that a lot of people, they'll be rolling the dice, they'll roll the dice, and then they'll look at it and be like, I rolled the dice, but it doesn't seem random enough. Well, let me just change some numbers around. And doing that actually weakens the entropy, because humans are terrible. Just it's in our nature. We're not random creatures. Like we don't have the best ability to create a truly random string of numbers. So that's why rolling dice or something like TRNG, some kind of physical hardware that listens to elements in our environment that are never reproduced, that's why those are generally considered more secure. But rolling the dice is the way that you bypass using the wallet's entropy method. And not all wallets offer a dice rolling method, but this is what a lot of people are recommending you do, so that you don't rely on ColdCard's entropy or Trezor's entropy or Keystone's entropy, right? So that's what the dice rolling thing is. Now, although the dice roll works, I think it's stupid. I don't think it's a solution. I think it's a band-aid. If we expect people to use cold wallets, and we expect them to roll dice 50 to 100 times and input all those numbers into a wallet, which takes hours, I think that's insanity. And it's just crazy to me. Like, crypto is supposed to be the future of money and the future of currency, and here we are rolling dice to create a password. That makes zero sense to me. Again, I'm not saying there aren't security advantages, but I don't think that is a long-term solution, and I think it's really silly. So that's kind of my view on it. It's too much for the average user. The majority of people using hardware wallets don't even know what a seed phrase is, right? They don't know how a seed phrase works. You think they're going to go roll dice 50 to 100 times and enter it into a wallet? Absolutely not. So it's not a long-term solution. Now, another thing that a lot of people are recommending is to set up multi-sig wallets. So a multi-sig wallet is simply creating a chain of wallets that is required to approve a transaction. So instead of having one physical hardware wallet device, you spread the approval for transactions maybe across 3 different devices, right? This has one key, this has one key, and this has another key, and all keys are required to approve a transaction. The benefit of this is, even if one wallet is compromised, your crypto is still secure because these other 2 wallets are still securing it. So it is extremely secure, but it does require more devices. It does require more keys that you have to keep track of. Ultimately, it's more complexity, and it goes back to the dice rolling thing. I don't expect a lot of people, most users, to implement a multi-sig setup. Multi-sig, of course, people use it, but you'll really see it in companies, right? Like crypto exchanges. Obviously, you don't want one guy in charge of billions of dollars worth of crypto. So they have their crypto spread out in a multi-sig setup across, 3, 4, 5 different wallets that are all controlled by different people in the company. So it's a really good option for companies with large holdings that don't want to rely on one single person. That said, a lot of multi-sig relies on third-party software, and that third-party software can introduce risk. And the best example that I can think of this is the Bybit hack of 2025, which Bybit's one of the biggest crypto exchanges in the world. They used the Safe multi-sig software, which is one of the most popular multi-sig softwares available, and the hackers were able to hack the front end of the multi-sig website and basically show the Bybit guys that they were signing their transaction, but in reality, they were actually sending their crypto to the hacker's wallet. So certain multi-sig setups can also introduce risk. So it introduces complexity, it introduces risk. Ultimately, though, multi-sig, it can definitely add security, but again, I don't think it's a great solution because it's not user-friendly and most people are not going to use it. If you know how to use it and you want to use it, go for it. And that leads us to probably the easiest, I'd say it's the most effective option. That's also the least complex, and that is creating a passphrase. A passphrase is simply, it's also called like a 25th word seed phrase. A passphrase is simply an additional word or phrase that you add on top of your existing wallet's 12 or 24 word seed phrase. So the way that it works is you'll set up your wallet. Let's say you set it up with a 24 word seed phrase. Cool. You access a wallet, then you enable the passphrase feature, and then it asks you to create a passphrase. The passphrase, you can literally, it could be whatever you want, right? It could be words, it could be random numbers, characters, and symbols, whatever you want it to be. Doing that creates a completely separate wallet from the 24 word seed phrase wallet. So again, you set up the 24 word seed phrase, then you add a passphrase that creates the own wallet. And the only way to access that passphrase, also known as a hidden wallet, is to use both the seed phrase and the passphrase. You need both of them combined to access a wallet. So if you're using a 24 word seed phrase with a passphrase, and let's say your seed phrase is revealed or you share it with someone, but all your crypto's in the passphrase wallet, they're not going to be able to access your crypto because again, they need both the seed phrase and the passphrase. This is also the main risk of using a passphrase. If you forget your passphrase and your crypto is in that passphrase wallet, you won't be able to access it. So the passphrase is the equivalent, importance wise as your seed phrase. You need both of them to access your crypto. That said, is really easy to set up. The most important thing is that you record your passphrase like you record your seed phrase, stored in a secure location where you'll always have access to it and will always be able to go back to. Every wallet that I can think of on the market, every hardware wallet supports using a passphrase. Tangem, a little difference. By the way, I have a user guide down in the description that shows you how to use a passphrase on Tangem. I also have links to wallets that I use that aren't ColdCard that all have some kind of deal going on right now. I've got Tangem. Tangem's doing like 20% off in free Bitcoin. Trezor's doing 10 to 20% off, and Ledger's doing free Bitcoin. So I have those links down in the description if you are looking for a new hardware wallet, but I also have user guides down there that show you how to set up and use these wallets. The Trezor video will show you how to set up and use the passphrase. There is a Tangem wallet video down there, 2 Tangem wallet videos, and the Ledger user guide. I don't know if I cover the passphrase in that video, but it's pretty similar across most wallets. But as I was saying, the passphrase option is available in every hardware wallet that I know of. So it is a feature that you can, if you have a hardware wallet, you can go set it up right now. So yeah, I think out of all those options, the passphrase is the least complex and adds a great amount of security. That said, the passphrase isn't a guarantee. There are reports of ColdCard users who are using a passphrase who were still hacked. But why? Well, it goes back to the original entropy and the passphrase entropy. So not only was the original entropy weak, which was the seed phrase that ColdCard generated, but then the people who created passphrases, they just use 1 or 2 like basic words like dog, tree, right? Those are not random words. So that passphrase has low entropy. So you're using 2 versions of low entropy keys. If you set up a passphrase, you want it to be robust. You want it to be completely random. You want it to be something that no one could ever just think to guess. So don't use personal information. Don't use birth dates. Don't use names, cities, anything like that. Just like you wouldn't with a password. You want it to be as robust as possible. But you also don't want it to be so long that it's difficult to write down or input. So there's got to be a sweet spot. Maybe it's like 30 random characters. Again, a mix of numbers, letters, and symbols. Don't just use like, your birthday or whatever, or like your first car, right? That stuff's not going to work. The I have to talk about this last recommendation that I've been seeing, and that is to move your crypto to an exchange, which a lot of influencers are, at least on X, are telling people to do. And I think this is dangerous and irresponsible advice. For starters, the amount of Bitcoin, not even all crypto, but Bitcoin lost on exchanges far exceeds the ColdCard hack. We're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin has been locked or frozen on exchanges versus, 13 or 1500 Bitcoin on ColdCard. It doesn't even compare. So let's not forget about Mount Gox. Let's not forget about Celsius, BlockFi, FTX, Voyager, whatever it may be. In the last 10 years alone, more than 400 crypto exchanges have shut down, some because they went bankrupt, some because they were actually ran by scammers or bad actors who had bad intentions the entire time. Some just weren't generating the revenue, but the outcome was the same for a lot of them, which is that the user takes the hit. So that's one aspect, is that crypto exchanges are not more secure than self-custody, inherently. Now, here's something else to consider. I've gotten a few comments on the channel. I'm moving my crypto to an exchange. Screw these cold wallets. Screw self-custody. How do you think crypto exchanges hold users' funds? Maybe in a wallet? Exchanges use wallets like we do. So really what you're doing if you move your crypto to an exchange out of your own cold wallet is you're removing crypto from your own wallet, where you have full control and full ownership because you own the keys, because it's a self-custodial wallet. You're moving your crypto out of your control and out of your ownership into a company's wallet where you lose that control and ownership. So you're literally moving it from one wallet to another wallet. And the main difference is, in one wallet, you have the control and ownership. In the other wallet, you don't. That makes zero sense to me. Makes zero sense. And if you think that, if the crypto exchange goes under, if they get hacked, I'll get my money back. When has that ever happened? Very rarely. It's taken FTX years to pay people back. I mean, they just sent out another payment. So, I mean, I understand for ColdCard users, if they just needed to get their crypto out of their wallet immediately and they sent it to, an exchange temporarily, then yeah, of course, that makes sense. But to give up on self-custody, to let one bad apple spoil the bunch because ColdCard messed up is it's ridiculous. And I think the people who are recommending now moving your crypto to exchanges, which is literally still a wallet just controlled by a company, they're either just misinformed or they have some kind of other intentions. Like maybe they've partnered with the exchange or whatever it may be. I don't know. But just to be completely transparent, I keep zero crypto on exchanges. That's just mine. That's just how I do it. And that's how I've done it for almost the last 7 years now, going on 7 years. So yeah, this is not an excuse or a reason to move your crypto to an exchange unless you're a ColdCard user, you don't have another wallet right now, and it's a temporary move. Self-custody, everybody self-custodies. If it's not you doing the self-custody, then it's the exchange. So make your choice. Do you want to self-custody your crypto, have that ownership and control, or do you want to give that ownership and control to a company who's going to self-custody it for you? It's up to you. So my final position is I am still pro self-custody. That has not changed. I am still going to recommend using a cold wallet because that's how I manage my crypto. That's what I know. That's what has worked for me. And, unfortunately, like you have to do your own research. There's a lot of blame. There's a lot of fingers being pointed at at influencers who have promoted ColdCard, and myself included. Like, we don't know everything, right? We're consumers like you are. I'm a user like you are. If I had recommended ColdCard wallets, which I never have, but if I did, unless unless someone told me, there would have been no way that I would have ever known that ColdCard had a vulnerability, right? Unless I did the deep research, which again I gave you all those things to look at earlier. You know, look at the security audits, look at if it uses a certified secure chip or not. Look at the entropy methods. Look at whether it's open or closed source, right? Like, look at these things yourself. At the end of the day, I mean, you can't point fingers. Now, sure, maybe you could point it at ColdCard. Um, they are the experts, but it's just, I don't know. It's a tough situation for people to be in. So that said, I think I don't think this is the end of cold wallets or self custody, and growing pains are the only way that improvements are made. So I think overall, and hopefully there's some way that all these users can get their Bitcoin back. Like, maybe if the Bitcoin hits an exchange or something, they can freeze the funds and then find out a way to distribute Bitcoin back to everyone. That is my hope. But hopefully, I believe that this will be, in the long run, a net positive for crypto and self custody, because it forces the industry to really scrutinize all the different wallet brands, and hopefully for them to up their security. Right? It has to be done, especially with AI. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking about this current situation. Again, I have several resources down in the description. I have my cold wallet research database that I put together that tells you which wallets are open and closed source, what kind of chips they use from which brands, what kind of rating they have, if the wallets have any known vulnerabilities, if those vulnerabilities actually affected users or not. I think I have like 44 different wallets that I covered. It's just a Google Doc, and that Google Doc is only I can edit it, but it's available to the public to go and view. That's down in the description. That's the first link. If you decide that one of those wallets is a good one for you, I do have 3 wallets that I use down in the description. They all give you some kind of discount or like free Bitcoin. So Tangem, Trezor, Ledger, all the links to those wallets are down in the description. Discounts will be automatically applied. And then I also have user guides for Ledger, Tangem, and Trezor that'll show you how to set up and use the wallet if you want some hand holding, if you will. That said, I want to jump over to the comments and see what's going on. And I appreciate all of you being here. If you are a ColdCard wallet user, first off, get your crypto off of ColdCard immediately. This attack is still ongoing. People are still having their wallets drained. If you don't have another hardware wallet and the only thing you have is a ColdCard wallet, consider moving it to your preferred crypto exchange temporarily while you can figure out which hardware wallet you want to move into next. Okay, Trading Pad BD says, oh God, need Bangla voice track. Yeah, unfortunately with the live streams, YouTube doesn't voice dub them, so it'll probably only be in English, unfortunately. Selling to Tahiti says, for all you dice rolling high rollers out there, I can sell you a pair guaranteed roll snake eyes every time. Yeah, if you're rolling dice, make sure you get some legitimate dice. Frank says, what's up? The Tangem ring is the best thing ever. Awesome. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Tangem ring is super cool. Forever Forgiven says, can we have your thoughts on what Ledger is saying, stating they were able to hack a Tangem wallet with a laser? I already made a video about this a few weeks back when that happened. It's called a laser fault injection. Basically, they were able to extract the chip from the wallet in a laboratory and bypass the password. 0 users are affected because, again, this happened in a laboratory setting. It requires physical access to the wallet, and it requires $250,000 worth of equipment. So it'd have to be an extremely targeted attack by someone with the tools, the knowledge, and the desire to take your wallet, which is virtually zero for most people. So, James Kelly, what's going on? Edward, the argument going forward for a lot of people is, can you trust a company's entropy? Yeah, absolutely, that is the argument. What is Safe Multisig? Safe Multisig is a software. It's a company where you can set up multisig for your wallet. Again, multisig requires multiple signatures to approve transactions. So that way, even if one wallet key is compromised, the hacker still can't do anything because it still has other keys that would need to approve the transaction. Again, this can be a good way to add more security, but it is complex for beginners. It is more to keep track of, and it can introduce third-party risk such as Safe Multisig. So there are other things to consider. Bill says, I've always wondered how we won't see duplicates in the future just because so many options exist. Why couldn't a duplicate come up? It's virtually impossible for a duplicate to come up when proper entropy is used, which is 128 to 256 bits minimum. The number of possible combinations, it's a number so large I don't even know what it is, but the likelihood of someone guessing an actual a wallet that produces good entropy, the odds of someone guessing that entropy is less than how am I trying to say this? You're more likely to get struck by lightning every single day of your life and survive every single day of your life than someone is to guess your seed phrase when it's created with proper entropy. That's how random it is. That's how many possible number of combinations there are. How do you move crypto from a Nano X to Tangem? James Kelly, there's a couple options. You could either take the seed phrase from your Nano X and import it into Tangem. So when you go into Tangem and then you go to other options, when you're setting up the wallet, it'll say import recovery phrase. That's when you would enter your Nano X's seed phrase in chronological order. That would be a way to like instantly access it without having to transfer crypto. Generally, when moving to a new wallet, just for, good practice, it's best to set up a new seed phrase and transfer your crypto. And I have videos on the channel. If you just type in how to send crypto to cold wallets on YouTube, you can watch my video, but you basically copy the receiving address from the Tangem wallet, paste it into the send spot in the Nano X, enter the amount of crypto you want to send, hit send, and it'll show up. Can this all be solved basically by adding extra passphrase to your seed phrase? This can be solved by using a wallet that produces truly random entropy, which again is 128 to 256 bits. Tangem does proper entropy, Ledger does proper entropy, Trezor does proper entropy. Using a passphrase can definitely help, but it is not a requirement. I want to make that clear. How can we be sure Tangem doesn't have this same hidden flaw because it took several years for ColdCard to discover it? Well, again, the thing with Tangem is they've had 3 security audits done over the past 4 years. So it's likely that the security audit would have found that vulnerability by now, especially because it was from 3 different independent security auditors. And the entropy is like, again, the foundation of every hardware wallet. So that would be something that would be pretty obvious, I would think. Aside from that, depending how you use the Tangem wallet, if you're setting it up with a seed phrase, how the seed phrase is generated is 100% open source and available on GitHub for anyone to review. So if you have the technical know-how, you can go and review the code and verify that that the entropy is truly random. As for if you're using Tangem as a seedless wallet, the key and entropy is done differently because it's done inside the card's TRNG, or inside the secure chip rather. That part is closed source, so you'd have no way to actually verify that yourself by reading the code. But again, that's why they have security audits done. And trust, exactly. What about Seed Signer? I've never used Seed Signer, so I can't comment on, I don't have an opinion on it, to be honest. So let's see. Football Sin Corruption says, hey, brother, thanks for everything you do for us. Like you said before, everything is safe until it's not. Exactly. Everything is secure until it isn't. What do you think about the key card hardware wallet? has an EAL6 plus chip. So yeah, I have the KeyCard hardware wallet. I haven't had the time to test it and review it yet and really look into its workings. It does look promising, but again, I don't like to comment on devices that I haven't actually set up and used and done a little research. So I am excited to. I think I have it right. I have it somewhere around here. Oh, actually, I think I put it away. But yeah, KeyCard, I don't have a comment on right now. So Trezor doesn't use EAL6. Yes, Trezor does use EAL6 secure chips from ST Microelectronics. Can we verify Ledger's entropy? I don't believe so. I don't know. Again, Ledger is 95% open source, but the entropy happens inside the secure chip using the TRNG. And I do know the secure chip is closed source, so probably can't verify it yourself. But Ledger, again, they've had multiple security audits. They also use one of the most respected. They have their own security team, Ledger Donjon, which is highly regarded in the crypto space as far as their skills. Trezor has worked with them. They have found vulnerabilities in all the hardware wallets, right? So, can biometric be integrated with all the other security features of cold wallets? Biometrics is really a physical deterrent to prevent people or prevent someone random from accessing your wallet. There's no like cryptographic aspect of biometrics. It is solely to prevent someone from accessing your physical device. It doesn't like improve entropy or anything like that. ColdCard firmware is source verifiable and open to public inspection, but it has historically relied on community visibility rather than formal, comprehensive third-party independent audits. Exactly what I'm saying is a lot of the open source wallets don't rely on formal independent third-party audits, whereas some of these wallets like Tangem and Ledger that are partially open source, they do. They go out, they pay for these formal audits, and then we have access to those audits. So again, these are all bits of data you can use to determine and make an educated assumption that a wallet is secure. Teddy says, is there any reason for people using Ledger or Tangem to switch to another device like Trezor or any others that offer multi-sig? Any other reassurance regarding Tangem or Ledger? Thank you. It's really a personal decision. Just to be clear, Ledger also offers multi-sig. You can really add any wallet as part of a multi-sig setup, including Tangem. But like Ledger offers it natively through their app, I believe. So it kind of depends how you want to implement it, or if you really want to implement multi-sig. But Tangem and Ledger, they're secure wallets. The one thing I would say is you might want to consider splitting, and I've always recommended this, but you might want to consider splitting your crypto between different wallets. Before I recommended or said it would be okay to split your crypto between the same wallet, which, and by same wallet, I mean the same brand of wallet, which I still do. You know, I have multiple Ledger wallets, I have multiple Trezor wallets, and I have multiple Tangem wallets that all have crypto split between them. But if you only have maybe two wallets, maybe you want to consider using a Tangem and then your other one like a Ledger or something. It's up to you. But I think diversification is a good idea without getting overly complex. William Johnston says, cold wallets are no longer the king. Exchanges, ETFs, crypto IRAs, stocks, ETFs all need to be considered used to spread the risk. All these methods have strengths and weaknesses. Again, whether you're using an exchange, holding an ETF, crypto IRA, the people behind those companies are still self-custodying your crypto. You can't get away from it. All you're doing is taking that custody and putting it into their hands. They're still using cryptographically generated entropy to hold your crypto. You're not going to get away from that. Except it's even worse because with exchanges, you don't actually own that crypto. With ETFs, you don't own that crypto. With IRAs, you don't own that crypto, right? That's the main difference. You're letting someone else own it for you, and they're basically give you a digital receipt saying, hey, this is what we owe you. You don't actually own crypto if you hold it. The only way to own crypto on a technical level is to own the keys to the crypto. You own the keys to your crypto by self-custodying your crypto. Would you say 12-word seed phrase on Trezor is safe? Just jumping on, so not sure if this has already been answered. Yes, 12-word seed phrase is safe. That's 128 bits of entropy. It would take hundreds of years to guess. If you want to be extra secure, use a 24-word seed phrase. Then how is Trezor safe with OS or Tangem or Ledger? I'm not sure what you mean. Hippie Collect says, I'm considering moving to multi-sig wallet. I keep seeing BitKey, but what weirds me out is their servers hold a key. Yeah, see, that kind of stuff. Again, there's pros and cons to everything. Personally, I think if you are looking for just, again, a 12-word seed phrase and a 24-word seed phrase, when created from good entropy, which is 128 bits or 256 bits, is going to be secure. Seed phrases aren't all of a sudden not secure. What made ColdCard seed phrase not secure is that its entropy was weak. We're talking about 40 bits versus 128 or 256 bits. It's a massive difference. Now, if you are looking for an additional security bump, I think multi-sig is the most complicated implementation. So maybe if you're a more advanced user and you don't mind and you're organized and you can keep track of all that, sure, maybe that's an option. Rolling your own dice, that's another option. I think the most simple solution, if you just want a little bit of extra security without all the added complexity, is to set up a passphrase. Again, that's not a requirement either. So, Basic Beach Community says, nobody has any idea if this tiny company just accepted a bribe of, let's say, $10 million, no clue whatsoever. And on top of that, they don't audit their code. Right. Would seedless be better? So for all of you Tangem users, and I've gotten so many comments since this saying that, oh, well, I use a seedless Tangem wallet, so I would never be affected by this. That's not how that works. Even when you set up Tangem as a seedless wallet, it still creates a key. It still has entropy. So if Tangem created weak entropy, which it doesn't, but if it did, not having a seed phrase doesn't mean anything. It still has entropy, which is bits of data. And remember, the seed phrase is derived from those bits of data. The foundation of every wallet is the entropy. The seed phrase comes from the entropy. So a seedless Tangem wallet would do nothing. A seedless Tangem wallet only protects you from someone physically accessing your seed phrase. A lot of reasons that beginners lose money in crypto is because they enter their seed phrase on a scam website and then they drain their wallet. As long as you know to never share your seed phrase, in my opinion, there's no reason to not know your seed phrase, right? So, let's see. Edward says, yes, it's 128-bit entropy instead of passphrase. A lot are now saying, why trust a company to make a seed for you? Make a seed offline and import it onto the hardware. There's lots of different ways you can do it. And ultimately, the way you decide to do it is going to come down to your experience level, how comfortable you are doing it, and things like that. But it's silly to expect everyone to roll dice or set up multi-sig just to use a freaking wallet. It's ridiculous. That is not a good long-term solution. We need to do better. So, can ColdCard Company recover from this, or should they close shop? I don't know. Only God knows. It'd be awesome if they came back stronger and they did become the most secure Bitcoin wallet ever. It's possible. But a big thing in crypto is trust. So trust is really hard to, it's actually pretty easy to earn, but it's really hard to get back if you lose it. So Cramerica says, open source relying on the public to find bugs is lazy. They should have been paying for an audit every year or two, especially when they're tooting being the best of those wallets aren't cheap. I mean, again, there's pros and cons to open source wallets, open and closed source wallets. That's what I'm saying. A lot of people hated on Ledger because they're like, oh, Ledger is closed source, which, by the way, Ledger is not closed source. They are 95% open source. About 5% is closed source, which is the secure chip part of it. But the benefit and the pro to that is they're getting formal independent third-party security audits done. So yeah, sure, you have to trust Ledger or Tangem, but you also have these security companies that you can kind of fall back on as well. And that's why I say at the end of the day, whether your crypto's on a hardware wallet, whether it's on an exchange, whether it's an ETF, IRA, whatever it is, you're trusting someone. Unless you are the developer of whatever product you're using, you built it from the ground up, you created the hardware, you put every chip in each piece of hardware, you design the code. Unless you're doing that, you are trusting someone else. Full stop. Are Tangem and Ledger safe? Tangem and Ledger are still safe as of today. This ColdCard vulnerability is isolated to ColdCard wallets. Why? Because there was an error, a mistake, a backdoor, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. It was in their firmware, and it caused the entropy to fall back onto a less secure method to generate the entropy. Entropy, again, it's random data. Random data is the foundation of every hardware wallet. It determines how secure the key is, determines how secure the seed phrase is. And with ColdCard, the firmware basically bypassed the true random number generator, which is how most wallets create secure entropy. And it fell back on a PRNG, or a pseudo random number generator, which is not a cryptographically secure method to create entropy. That's what happened. That is specific to ColdCard and their firmware. This is not an industry-wide issue that we know of, right? Let's see. End of the day, 1224 word seed phrase plus passphrase is more than enough. That said, the argument is, do we trust Trezor Ledger to create an entropy of seeds? Yeah, I would agree with that. At the end of the day, we have to trust someone. So kind of pick who you're going to put your trust in. And that's another thing, is like, maybe you want to consider using wallets from bigger companies, right? I don't know. Or wallets that have been in game the longest. I mean, ColdCard has been around for a long time, but I don't think they're definitely like the biggest company. I think some of the biggest companies, the biggest hardware wallet manufacturers right now from a user and revenue perspective would be Ledger, Trezor, and Tangem are probably the top three, right? These are companies worth tens of millions, maybe hundreds of millions of dollars. I don't know. Can you make your own seed phrase words with Tangem, or are they pre-generated like Ledger? So most hardware wallets, they're not pre-generated. If your wallet comes with a pre-generated key, that would be a scam. When you go through the setup process with your hardware wallet, it is using the TRNG or whatever entropy method it uses to generate a brand new, never before used, completely random seed phrase. And Tangem does that too. Which wallet is okay? Trezor and Ledger, those are great. Crypto should be made easy. These complicated things are going to drive away retail adoption. I agree 100%. Personally, like Trezor over Ledger because it's open source. Again, as I pointed out in this video, there are pros and cons to open and closed source wallets. You really need to weigh those pros and cons yourself. Does Ledger support multi-sig and how to set it up? Yes, Ledger supports multi-sig natively. I can't explain how to set it up on this live stream because that would be something I would need to show you, and I'm just not going to do that. What about Slip 39? Slip 39, yeah, it's another good option. It's like a form of Shamir backup where you create multiple shares of a seed phrase, and a number of those seed phrases, like let's say 3 out of 5 is required to access the wallet. It's another option. Again, a little more complex though. How do you create a passphrase on Tangem? I have a link down in the description of this video that shows you how to do that. But basically, you have to set up the Tangem wallet with a seed phrase, write down your seed phrase, factory reset the wallet, then import that seed phrase you just created. And at that time, below the spot where you import your seed phrase, there's a field that says passphrase. That's where you enter whatever you want your passphrase to be. Then once you hit continue, you're now using that passphrase wallet. Let's see. And YouTube made me lose my spot in the chat. Where were we here? Do 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 do. Let's see. Crypto. Okay, personally. How do you create a passphrase on Tangem? Just answered that. Have you done this yourself? I was just reading that creating and typing your own exposes a phrase to your digital environment. So, replying to Edward. Okay. Let's see. Does the hidden wallet work across different wallets? If I lose it and didn't want to use the same wallet brand, yes. So basically, if you set up a passphrase wallet on one wallet, you can import your passphrase wallet on another wallet, assuming that wallet also supports the passphrase, which most hardware wallets do. Now, of course, there's other caveats, like you'd want to, just like when you import a seed phrase from one wallet into another wallet, you want to make sure that the wallet you're importing your seed phrase into, that it supports the same cryptocurrencies and things like that. Otherwise, you simply won't be able to view those cryptos. So, um, what about cold wallets that have gateways to exchanges built into their apps? Those are completely fine. It's no different than using an exchange externally, outside of the wallet. You're not all you're doing is you're interacting with a third party exchange through the app. That doesn't affect the security of the cold wallet device. Edward says, "Thank you. The whole point of crypto is sovereign money and self custody." Absolutely. Unfortunately, not enough people care. A lot of people in crypto just care about when price go up. They don't care about owning the keys. They don't care about ownership or anything like that. They just want the price to go up so they can cash out and buy a Lambo, right? And if you're one of those people, then maybe keeping your crypto on an exchange is best for you. If you don't care about the benefits of crypto, which is the ability to self custody it, to be your own bank, to actually own it, and not rely on a third party or some company to control your money and have control of it. If you don't care about that, then just keep your crypto on an exchange or buy an ETF, right? Who cares? I keep seeing old phones at default and SIM card removed is the best cold storage. I don't think so. That doesn't sound great to me. Um, Hardware wallets are designed specifically to protect cryptographic keys. Phones are not. Dr. Doom says, "How safe is XMR Monero? Like, can government track? Has any government done this, like tracking ownership?" Monero, which is a privacy coin, it can be tracked only if you tie it to yourself. So, like, if you buy Monero on an exchange and then send it to your hardware wallet, well, you've just created a paper trail essentially. So if you want to remain truly private when using Monero, you'd have to buy it through like a peer-to-peer marketplace. You meet someone in person, give them $100 cash, and maybe they send $100 in Monero directly to your wallet. That way, it never touches a centralized company. It's never associated to you as a human or your identity. So it depends on how you attain it and how you move it around. Is Tangem going to make multi-sig easy? I have no idea. You don't need to go all in with Bitcoin and crypto. You can self-custody silver and gold bars too. Diversify. Sure thing. After this, I'm out. Who's next? It could be anyone. I mean, yeah, if you want to leave crypto after this, that's completely your choice. I don't think so. We just made a video recently on Monero. Did we already talk about how to do dice rolls? Yes, we did. Would you consider a good passphrase made of 26 characters, letters, symbols, and numbers? I'd say that's good. I would say 26 characters of truly random letters, numbers, and symbols is good, in comparison to using like, four basic words like, I love cheese or something, right? If you roll dice, doesn't matter what hardware wallet you use, even ColdCard. Yes, there are still other security factors that you want to consider. And also, usability plays a huge role in security. If the wallet you're using is too complex or overly complicated, you're more likely to make a mistake. And user error is actually the number one reason people lose money with cold wallets. So there's a lot of different aspects to security. It's not just entropy, but it starts with entropy. Also, a lot of wallets don't secure dice rolling. So, Baya Butterfly says, please do not keep your crypto on an exchange. I had an issue with Coinbase and they kept my crypto and gave a fraction of the value of my crypto in dollars. I was so angry with them and don't trust them. Again, if you need to move your crypto to an exchange because you're a ColdCard user and you want to just make sure it's secure, so you have time to get a new hardware wallet, transfer your crypto to that makes sense. But if you're someone who believes moving your crypto to an exchange out of your cold wallet is the best solution because of this ColdCard incident, you're mistaken. Because all you're doing is taking crypto out of your wallet, which you own and control, and moving it into a company's wallet that they own and control. You're not going to get away from the wallet aspect. So, where to buy legitimate dice? Guess the Dollar Tree is out. That's a good question. I don't know. I'm sure they have some on Amazon. If you were buying new right now, would it be Trezor Safe 7 or Nano 5? Already have a Tangem. Thanks. Honestly, both are really good options. Both of them work with your phone and computer. Both of them use EAL rated chips. It just come down to preference, right? I think both are good options. Ledger does support a little bit more cryptocurrencies than Trezor for now. I know Trezor is working on implementing really as much crypto in networks as possible, but I don't think you could go wrong with either one. They're both really solid. Yeah, so that's my honest opinion. I use both. I have the Trezor Safe 7 I use, have it right here, and I think the Nano Gen 5 is a really good option as well. It gets you into Ledger's touchscreen without having to spend a fortune. And like I said, the link's down in the description right now, regardless of which one you get. With the Trezor Safe 7, you can get 10% off using the link in the description of this live stream. With the Ledger Nano Gen 5, I believe you get $10 or $20 worth of free Bitcoin using my link. So let's see. Edward says, this is where AI can be helpful. I didn't know if this was and Trezor T old discontinue version safe. The old Trezor Model T and Trezor Model 1 are still secure. They will still secure crypto. There's still people using it. And the crazy thing is Trezor still supports security updates for the Model T and Model 1, even though they don't sell them anymore. They still support security updates, and they will for the next 10 years, I think they said. So it's pretty crazy. That said, I mean, obviously there have been improvements made to the new Trezor models, like the Safe 7, like the Trezor Model 1 and the Trezor Model T. These don't have secure element chips in them. And that was the main upgrade from the original models to the Safe 3, the Safe 5, and now the Safe 7, is they use secure element chips. Safe 7 uses 2 secure chips. One is designed by Satoshi Labs, the creator is the creator of Trezor, and then the other one, I think, and I could be wrong, I think it's Infineon though. If, for example, you have one Tangem wallet, should you add one more new Tangem wallet or add another hardware wallet manufacturer? It's really up to you. Like I said, I do both. So I have multiple Tangem wallets with different amounts of crypto on them, but I also have other wallets that I use. You kind of have to weigh like complexity. Like, are you okay with managing 2 different brands of wallets and using 2 different apps to manage them? Or do you just want to do it all in the same app, right? So I think it really just depends. New Decent S card. I haven't used it, haven't researched it. Again, I'm not a fan of Decent only because they are 100% closed source. Flatsmack says Trezors are 20% off right now. Yeah, so the Safe 3 and Safe 5 are 20% off, and the Safe 7 is 10% off using my link down in the description of this live stream, which all my links for wallets take you directly to the manufacturer's website. I would never link to a third-party website like Amazon or eBay or whatever, or my own website. They all take you to the manufacturer's website, and they will get you deals that you can't get anywhere else because I'm an affiliate for these companies. I'm an affiliate for every single hardware wallet manufacturer there is. So sometimes you can get special deals using my link. Let's see. How about Ledger Nano X? I just generated a new 24-word seed phrase. Ledger Nano X is fine. Closed source or open source, which is better or worse? I already covered that in depth earlier on in the video. Hopefully you caught that. I think it's because of the update, but my Tangem says access code instead of passphrase. I just tried to see if I can change it. I'm looking at the right option, or I think it's because of the update, but my Tangem says access code. I'm not sure what you mean, August. So if you're trying to set up a passphrase wallet, again, first you need to generate the seed phrase, write the seed phrase down. After that, you need to factory reset the wallet, factory reset every card. Then you have to set the wallet up again. So you scan the card, you tap other options, and then you tap the import recovery phrase option. And on that screen, there is the seed phrase field where you import or enter your seed phrase that you just created. And below that, it says passphrase. So it sounds like you skipped a step. Do cold wallets with exchanges, gateways built into the apps? No, they don't. Never use a ColdCard or anything from CoinKite for any reason. I was probably inside a job. I mean, honestly, I would not trust using ColdCard right now just because this is an ongoing attack. Even if you're rolling your own dice, I would be getting out of ColdCard. That's just, again, I don't use ColdCard. If I did, I would stop using it. I really appreciate you sharing your knowledge on this topic. Thanks for all the help. Absolutely. That's what I like to do. Can you not create a seed phrase based on biometrics? No. No one verified ColdCard's entropy anyways. Most people wouldn't even be able to notice any bugs. Yeah, I mean, that's, again, ColdCard, open source. Nobody cared to look at it. So, is it possible to change the code we use to connect to the Ledger Wallet app? I believe the code is randomly generated every time. If you're talking about the pin that pops up on it. Is there a way to keep stocks on Kraken Pro and cold storage? Hardware wallets store cryptographic keys that are used to access your crypto on the blockchain. Stocks are not on the blockchain inherently, right? So you can't use a hardware wallet to control stocks. A flaw sitting in public code for 5 years until an adversary reportedly used AI to find it is a reminder that open and reviewed are not the same word. Yeah, it's a good point. Don't Ledger hold key when you connect the app? Not sure what you mean. When you generate your keys on your Ledger wallet, they remain inside the secure chip. Grant Oaks, what's going on? I have my XRP spread between 2 different Tangem cards, so I'm pretty safe. Nice. Yeah, diversification is a good idea. Can you have a 48-word seed phrase, 24 words with seed phrase, then use another 24-word on a passphrase? Would that be secure? Well, that would definitely be secure, but it's not necessarily the equivalent entropy of a true 48-word seed phrase. If you're looking for additional like actual seed phrases, that would be more something like Shamir Backup or Slip 39, where you can generate multiple like 24-word seed phrases and have a required number of seed phrases to access the wallet. Flatsmack says don't put everything in self-custody, diversify. I don't agree with that. I think diversify your self-custody, sure, but I will not keep any crypto on with another company who's just going to self-custody it for me. That doesn't make sense. Would you diversify at least 20% with iTrust Capital to diversify wallets and some institutional options just to spread options? And what do you think of Xamin Wallet? Again, it doesn't make, if you want to do it, sure, that's up to you. Again, if you're sending your crypto to an iTrust Capital, to some institutional custody, whatever it may be, someone is still in control of the keys where that crypto is stored. So all you're doing is removing that control and ownership from you and your responsibility to someone else. You can't remove crypto from the keys. All crypto is held behind some key. So the question is, do you want to be the holder of that key, or do you want someone else to hold it for you? And I wouldn't use dictionary words and use a passphrase. A passphrase is a good option, but it's not a requirement. All my wallets have passphrases, very long ones, but I'm contemplating multi-sig of some sort. Again, you have to be careful. I'm not saying, this is specifically to you, but there's a fine line where security becomes overly complex, and that can actually lead to more risk. So you have to balance security with usability and complexity. That's going to look different for everyone. A lot of people here are clueless about self-custodial key. Um, hey, you know what? We're all here to learn, and we all start in the same place with zero knowledge. So let's not knock others because they're trying to better themselves and learn something. How do you know that Tangem entropy is good and not like ColdCard? I mean, Tangem has already released statements of how their entropy works on X. If you want to go read that, they also have breakdowns in blogs on their website exactly how the keys are generated and the exact methods that are used. Tangem has also gone through 3 formal independent third-party security audits from 3 different companies. And if you're using a seed phrase with Tangem, how the seed phrase is generated is open source and available on GitHub for anyone to review. Does the hidden wallet work across different wallets? I already answered that. Passphrase is the first step to being more secure. Actually, using a wallet that generates truly random entropy is the first step. The foundation is the entropy. The seed phrase is derived from the entropy. If you don't have secure entropy, you don't have anything. What about Trezor Quantum Shield? I don't know what that is. Trezor doesn't have a quantum shield. You might be talking about their marketing, which says Trezor Safe 7 is quantum ready, which means if there are updates in the future from blockchain networks that implement different quantum cryptography, the Trezor Safe 7 is ready to implement it. And I think it is already using some post quantum cryptography on the device. Let's see. Don't lock yourself out of your own wallet because you made a mistake. Then it's better off in a spot ETF. Are my Ledger and Tangem safe? Both have seed phrases and only used it to store. Yes, again, this ColdCard vulnerability is limited to ColdCard. It was ColdCard's firmware that caused the entropy to not be truly random. What's going on, David? I'm very interested in hearing what you have to say. I will go back and listen from the beginning. I love what you bring to the space. Thank you. I appreciate you being here, and I appreciate all your good questions on the channel. I know you've been leaving a lot of comments. I appreciate that. Ironically, it's Ledger's research team that finds a lot of bugs and vulnerabilities on other devices. I mean, Ledger's research team, Ledger Donjon, they have tens of millions of dollars to play with. They have hundreds of thousands of dollars in equipment. It's a team of security researchers and experts, and they literally spend all day trying to hack wallets. So yeah, it does make sense that they're pretty good at it. Don't trust verify. How can you know that the ColdCard had a bug in the generator of the seed phrase? You would have had to know how to read the code or know how to utilize AI to read it. Let's see. I'm using Jade and seed phrase since 2024. It's been pretty safe now. I never save in digitally or upload online. Do I really have to generate seed through roll the dice? I think that simply is the best. You don't have to do that. If the wallet creates truly random entropy, which is at least 128 bits, you're good. Ledger is not fully open source, so why should we trust is Ledger? I can't tell you why to trust Ledger. ColdCard was 100% open source too. Why did people trust them? Why is $100 million in Bitcoin missing? I don't know. You have to pick and choose your battles here. There are pros and cons to open and closed source. What if the ColdCard getting hacked is by design to scare us? Maybe. There's lots of possibilities. How long will you get your free Bitcoin on Tangem? So I don't know how long they're going to offer that deal, but when you order a Tangem wallet right now, you'll get 2 emails. The first one is an order confirmation email, like always, and you'll get a second email with instructions on how to claim the free Bitcoin. Basically, once you set up your Tangem wallet, you just scan the QR code, and then 14 days later, after you scan the QR code, it's automatically deposited into your wallet. So that's kind of like how the process works. Also, if when you go and order your Tangem wallet, using the link in the description to get that 20% discount and the free Bitcoin, make sure to check your spam folder in your email for the free Bitcoin because that's usually where it lands. I'm kind of worried about Tangem now since you can't do a passphrase and seed phrases generated on the phone. You can do a passphrase, which we've talked about multiple times already, and the seed phrase is generated on the phone, but it's not stored in the phone. And also, Tangem seed phrase is generated using a CSPRNG, which is a cryptographically secure pseudo random number generator. This also uses things like external sounds and different electronic currents and things like that to create truly random entropy. So the seed phrase that Tangem creates when you use the seed phrase option, whether that's on an Android or an iPhone, it still achieves the same entropy, which is the most important thing. What happens if my family can't access my Bitcoin because it's too complex? Then they're screwed, right? And that's why you have to be careful with how complex you make your security setup. That's why I'm saying things like rolling the dice and setting a multi-sig. That is not a good long-term solution, especially if you plan on passing your crypto down to your family. Tangem has to worry about man-in-the-middle attack, just like it happens with the Visa credit card under certain conditions. I'm not sure what you're referencing in terms of the Visa credit card, but every wallet has to worry about man-in-the-middle attack. Are there hardware wallets with similar bugs, or is this a design flaw on ColdCard's part? This specific vulnerability was a flaw in ColdCard's firmware. This is not an industry-wide vulnerability. This was a vulnerability in the code of ColdCard's firmware. ColdCard, the device, is capable of generating secure seed phrases. However, the way the firmware, the code was written, it bypassed the physical true random number generator that should have been generating the keys, and it fell back on a less secure PRNG or pseudo random number generator, which is not that's not what you want to use to create cryptographic keys because it doesn't create cryptographically secure keys. So this is a ColdCard issue. The timing of the hack is very suspicious with the soft fork and Clarity Act happening at the same time. This bug has been in ColdCard for 5 years. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure over time more information will come out. So resetting the Tangem will get a new seed phrase or the old seeds will show up. Okay, you have to go watch this video. It's very simple. If you are trying to create a seed or a passphrase on your Tangem wallet, to have a passphrase, you first need a seed phrase. So with Tangem, this is how you have to do it. First, you set up the wallet with a seed phrase. You then write that seed phrase down, right? And then you complete the setup process. So you set up a Tangem wallet with a seed phrase. Once it's set up and the seed phrase is written down, you go to settings, you go to device settings, and you factory reset the cards. This wipes the keys, this wipes the seed phrase from the cards and makes them brand new cards again. Now to add the passphrase, you set up the cards again, but this time you don't create a new seed phrase. You import the seed phrase you just wrote down by going into, when you're going in through the setup process, you hit other options, import recovery phrase, you enter your seed phrase. Below that, on the same screen, there is a passphrase section. That's where you will enter what you want your passphrase to be. Then you continue with the setup process, and once it's complete, you are now in the passphrase wallet. And you will always need the seed phrase and the passphrase combined to access that specific wallet. So you can never lose the passphrase or the seed phrase. Otherwise, you will lose access to that wallet. I'm sad for those affected, but this forced me to do better, and I have never felt more confident in how secure my stack is. Learned a lot from what's going on. I'm 100% with you on that. Yeah, I've learned a lot from this as well. Why aren't other wallets like Tangem and Ledger facing the same issue? Because their wallets generate random entropy. It's that simple. Entropy is the foundation of every hardware wallet. ColdCard failed to do the core fundamental thing that hardware wallets are meant to do. So it means the passphrase is different from the access code. The access code is completely different from the seed phrase and the passphrase. The access code is nothing more than a password that prevents someone from picking up your Tangem wallet and accessing it. The access code is a password for the card. It's not a cryptographic password. Does Arculus create the seed phrase correctly? Yes. To my knowledge, they do. Do you see any additional benefit to using air-gapped wallet versus non-air-gapped? No. It's complete marketing. Just like Bitcoin only is marketing, an air-gapped wallet is purely marketing. Even if Ledger was open source, you most probably wouldn't find any bugs or vulnerabilities yourself. Stop the cope. Couldn't Ledger theoretically backdoor your seed phrase even if you have a passphrase or the passphrase is enough? Again, when you create a passphrase wallet, you have a completely new wallet. To access that wallet, you would need the seed phrase and the passphrase isn't stored in the wallet. So even if someone knows your seed phrase, there would be no way for anyone to ever access it without the passphrase. Is it possible to trace the address that received Bitcoin from the hack? Will the authorities track it down? We already know where all the Bitcoin is sitting. It's sitting in an address. This is how we know how much has been stolen. Yeah, it's sitting in an address right now. But until that address is tied to an individual, there's no way to go after anyone, right? So this is the struggle and the hope that there might be recovery ahead. Now it depends. Obviously, they can use mixers and different things like that to make it a lot harder to track and maybe cash out quickly. But the longer they wait, I feel the longer it could be harder for them to actually withdraw that Bitcoin. How did the hacker find a way to get in the ColdCard wallet? They used AI, found a vulnerability in the firmware, and exploited that vulnerability to guess seed phrases. I've seen ads claiming that hackers are offering to launder the Bitcoin from the ColdCard hack. Is that possible? That sounds like a scam. Why are we talking about inside jobs or governments? The ColdCard code was literally sitting there for 5 years for everyone to verify. Nobody noticed it anyways. Flat smack, the receiving address has received about 594 Bitcoin in a 15-minute window. That's old. That's old news. That's old data. Currently, over 1,500 Bitcoin has been stolen over the last several days. Is Tangem still safe? Yes. Trezor has a feature where it is a basic version of a multi-sig. It uses SLIP39, which is Shamir backup. It's not multi-sig, unless you're talking about something else. After all this, you should make a video about the responsibility of owning your crypto. End of the day, people don't want the responsibility, hence why they point to exchanges. I mean, I feel like I've touched on this topic so many times. I'm a broken record at this point. Some people think this is an attack designed to force people to stop using hardware wallets and instead turn to Bitcoin ETFs and platforms like Coinbase, Binance. Maybe, but I mean, really? I don't know. I don't know. It seems kind of far-fetched. Not saying it's impossible, but yeah, it's weird. What's your dual wallet setup for main and safe wallet for daily and main vault wallet? I'm not going to share the specifics of my setup. So can you explain the difference between derivation pass from one wallet brand to another? I ran into this problem going from Trezor to Tangem. I mean, I don't know what you want me to explain or say exactly, but sometimes when you import a seed phrase into another wallet, it uses a different path, which is ultimately just a different address for that same cryptocurrency. So sometimes you have to actually export the derivation path from the wallet that the seed phrase came from and essentially import it into your new wallet to basically see that crypto sitting at that address. I use my Tangem wallet and Ledger only for storage. I only sent in, never sent out. Am I safe? Sending in and sending out has nothing to do with this vulnerability. Tangem and Ledger are safe because they generate secure seed phrases. Is it best to use any random words to generate a passphrase? with your passphrase, you want to make sure it's as random as possible. Don't even use words, use a mix of random numbers, letters, and symbols. Use 12-word seed phrase as passphrase. People talk too much about open source, but they can't even read the code. They still need to rely on others. Ledger's not open source 100%, and it's fine, right? I mean, that's exactly true. Even if something's open source, as consumers, we are still trusting someone else to tell us that it's secure, unless you are a security expert, you know how to read code, and you know how to find vulnerabilities. Ledger is 95% open source, and as of right now, they are a secure option to use. Michael says, thanks for all the information. Need to go to sleep. See you in school. Appreciate you, Michael. I'll see you soon. If use a passphrase, treat it as your seed phrase. Both are equally important. Exactly right. So passphrase adds additional protection, right? Yes, it can. Let's see. After all this, make video. Can you please clarify something? If I generated my seed phrase on a Tangem wallet, does it make the wallet less safe than generating seed phrase on a hardware device? Thanks. No, not really. There's no data proving that to be true. Again, if you choose to generate Tangem with the seed phrase, it uses your phone's chip, which is a CSPRNG, or a cryptographically secure pseudo random number generator, which is capable of generating random entropy, 128 bits, 256 bits, the industry standard for what's considered secure. So you're not sacrificing security or entropy by generating your seed phrase with Tangem. Is Ledger Live now Ledger Wallet? Is it legit? Yes, Ledger Live. They changed their name to Ledger Wallet a long time ago. Let's see. I skipped a couple. Critical T says, this is why you're not always bang on about wallets, Skrilla. You put ColdCard above Decent on your tier list. Decent have never been hacked from 2018 launch. The new Decent S is very secure like Tangem. I've never claimed to be 100% spot on with wallets. So I've never made that claim. I've never claimed that there's one best or one most secure hardware wallet. In fact, I say the complete opposite. There's no such thing as the best or most secure hardware wallet, because it depends on so many factors. And one of those factors is you as an individual. And my tier list is my opinion. That's my subjective opinion. There's lots of things that went into my tier list: security, usability. Obviously, that was before the ColdCard hack. So obviously the ColdCard would be at the bottom of the tier list now. So yeah, I've never claimed to be 100%, and no one can be. I mean, not even the wallet manufacturer is 100% at this point. So yeah, just want to make that clear. And again, my view on Decent, it's 100% closed source wallet. They could have 100 different backdoors in there right now, and you wouldn't know it because it's closed source. So that's just kind of my view on it. I'm sure Decent has also had firmware audits, independent audits done though, so that would be one factor I would look into. Would you say that using anywhere from 5 to 6 words from the BIP 39 word list would be a good passphrase? No, not at all. That's not how it works. Create your own completely random passphrase. Don't even use words. Use random numbers, letters, and symbols. Diversity is key. Putting everything into self-custody is too risky. Depends on the person. For me, it hasn't been risky at all. What's risky for me is keeping crypto on an exchange where they hold the crypto in their own wallets, controlled by their keys, where they can freeze your funds, lock your account, and close your account on any time. And the state you live in can even can claim your crypto. That's a much bigger risk to me. And the reason that's a bigger risk to me is because I've actually been affected by that. I've had my crypto frozen on exchanges 3 different times. My best friend has had his account locked for over a year. And we had one subscriber on the channel who had his crypto on Coinbase. They closed his account and he lost access to $25,000. If you use self-custody and educate yourself, I think it is less risky than keeping your crypto on an exchange or literally anywhere else where they control your crypto. But again, to each their own. Does Bitcoin only firmware create safer seeds than multi-coin firmware? Absolutely not. Has nothing to do with the entropy. Bitcoin only firmware and Bitcoin only wallets is purely marketing. It's purely marketing towards Bitcoin maxis. That's all it is. There's virtually zero security advantage to Bitcoin only wallets. And even wallets that are multi-coin, if you want to use it as a Bitcoin only wallet, you can. Just only use Bitcoin on it. It's really that simple. If you are a genius and never make a mistake, then you will probably be fine. You don't have to be a genius to use a cold wallet. Like I definitely am not a genius. I'm not even, I was bottom of my class in high school. I've used a cold wallet for almost 7 years now, and I've never lost crypto because of whatever, right? There's going to be risks everywhere. So all crypto is always on the blockchain. There's no actual crypto stored in hardware wallets. The thing stored in a hardware wallet is your keys to access your accounts. Exactly. What do you think of Jake Claver's company, Institutional Custody? I don't have an opinion. My opinion on institutional custody in general is, again, I don't keep my crypto anywhere but in self-custodial wallets. If you're holding your crypto with an institutional custodian, they are custodying it for you. It's still held in someone's wallet. Yes, not technically the crypto. The keys used to access the crypto, someone has to hold it. Is it you? Is it the exchange? Is it some institution? Someone has to hold the key. You're not getting away from that. Transferring your crypto to an exchange, transferring it to institutional custody doesn't get crypto away from the keys. So, can we sue these people? I'm sure there's already a class action lawsuit that's being put together against ColdCard. I'm also sure if you look at terms and conditions of these hardware wallet companies, they cover their butt by alleviating themselves of any risk of using their products. Buying a substandard wallet to save money is maybe the dumbest thing you can do. Thank you so much for doing this for us. Absolutely. Do you think I can ask for a refund from CoinKite despite having been able to safely move my Bitcoin from my ColdCard queue? I'm sure they have a lot of requests for refunds. You could definitely try. I can't get my XRP to match funds stuck. I have no idea what you're talking about. If you want to provide a little more context, maybe I can help. Then this doesn't affect Tangem Seedless. This doesn't affect any other wallet but ColdCard. Let's see. Have learned so much from you. Have become a Tangem collector because of the art. I generated seed phrase for all but the one I use for a spinning account, keeping it as simple as I can. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the right way to look at it. I mean, different people are going to have different levels of complexity, which equals different levels of security. So there's no one right solution. It depends on each individual. Hello, if I have a wallet but I don't know the passphrase, can I find it? So if you set up a passphrase wallet and you put crypto on that passphrase wallet, and then you lose the passphrase and you only have the seed phrase, you have lost access to that wallet. Ledger is closed source, but has never been hacked at the user level, resulting in Bitcoin losses like experienced with ColdCard. Yeah, and there's been no hardware wallet that has experienced a loss like ColdCard. So, forever forgiven, you're welcome. Someone made a FOSS air-gapped cold storage solution for Caspa. Nice. Got a fake phishing Trezor email after this hack. Yeah, the fake emails, the fake letters, they've been going out for years, unfortunately. Eric says, thank you for this video. I have 2 Tangem wallets, the Keystone and 2 Keystone titanium plates. Could you recommend another cold wallet, and what would you suggest for storing a passphrase securely? Personally, I would recommend any of the wallets that I linked down in the description is what I personally use. The Trezor Safe 7, probably one of the best options in my opinion, or the Ledger Flex or Ledger Nano Gen 5. Really any of the Ledger touchscreen wallets. That's what I like to use. So I think they're reputable brands. But let's see, what else did you, as far as storing your passphrase securely, you could also just get another metal seed phrase plate, maybe just like a 12-word one or whatever, however many spots you need and put that in there, right? By the way, I have links to Trezor. I have links to some of my favorite hardware wallets down in the description, and they all give you some either a discount or free Bitcoin. So the link for Trezor down in the description will get you 10% off the Trezor Safe 7 or 20% off the Trezor Safe 5 or Safe 3, which are both still secure. The link to Ledger will get you $10 to $20 in free Bitcoin with your order, depending on which wallet you get. And that's only available through my link. And the way that that works is Ledger will actually send you a physical voucher with your hardware wallet that you will then be able to claim in the Ledger app directly to your wallet. And then Tangem also has like 20% off, actually over 20% off, depending on what you get, and free Bitcoin using my link down in the description. And their free Bitcoin is sent via an email that you'll receive right after you order. Usually it lands in your spam box. Basically, once you have your Tangem wallet set up, you just scan the QR code, automatically claims the Bitcoin. The Bitcoin will arrive in your wallet 14 days later. So those are links are available down in the description, along with a user guide for each one of those wallets, and my hardware wallet database research list. So I put together I researched 40 different hardware wallets, and I put together a document that shows you the brand, the model, the wallet type, what security chips it use, what the EAL rating is, whether it's open or closed source, and whether there are any publicly disclosed vulnerabilities. I put that database down in the description as well. It's the first link. It's a Google Doc that anyone can open up and look at the wallets and decide which wallet they want to use. And then I also linked, I put a link to all the manufacturer's website in that document as well. Again, it's a Google Doc that is locked that only I can edit, but it is publicly available for anyone to view. And I updated it today to reflect the current vulnerability with ColdCard and things like that. So if you want to check that resource out, it is available in the description. Let's see. Does Ledger store keys on the app? Absolutely not. That would defeat the purpose of Ledger. Ledger's keys are generated and stored in the secure chip on the physical device. What do you think of Seed Signer? I've never used it. I've never used it and I've never researched it, so I don't have an opinion on it. Don't know what that means. Let's see. YouTube. Why do you do that? Let's see. Where were we here? When you connect it via Bluetooth, no. The keys remain on the device at all times. How are we sure Tangem is giving us true random numbers? Again, Tangem has been audited by 3 formal independent security companies, and they audit the firmware, including how the entropy is done. Aside from that, if you're generating a seed phrase with Tangem, that happens via the Tangem app. The Tangem app is 100% open source and available on GitHub for anyone to review. If you are generating it as a seedless wallet, it uses the secure element chip inside the card, specifically the TRNG, which TRNGs are how true entropy is generated. Unfortunately, with the seedless option, there's no way for you to verify it because the firmware is closed source. But again, if you're using the seed phrase option, you can technically verify it if you know how to read code because it is publicly available on GitHub. But both options benefit from the company having 3 formal independent security audits done over the last 4 to 5 years. Is SafePal still safe? Probably. I haven't been keeping up with SafePal. It's not a top wallet that I like to use, or I don't really recommend them. Again, not because of anything particular. They're just something. Sometimes I just go off my gut feeling, and wallets like SafePal, LEPal, Decent, CipherRock. Again, just my own personal feeling. Those are wallets that I don't use or recommend anymore. So. Let's see. Maybe the user will just leave the Bitcoin there forever or pass it on to his family. Yeah, maybe it's just some super rich guy who was just having fun one day and he just wanted to steal some Bitcoin and Now it'll be stuck there forever, right? Maybe it's Satoshi, who knows? Do you have a video on creating a passphrase on a Ledger Nano difficulty level? It's extremely simple, but I don't have a video on it. I might. If you, in the description of this live stream right now, I have down towards the bottom, I have the Ledger Wallet user guide. In that video, it's a user guide for the Ledger Flex, but all the Ledger wallets are set up the same way. I mean, pretty much. I might mention or show the passphrase in there. I don't remember. Let's see. These influencers are nothing by paid shills. LOL. TJ talks as if I already have a 13 seed phrase with a save 3 and purchase a save 7. Would it be wise to just use the existing seed phrase with a passphrase or generate a new? It's always going to be better to generate a new seed phrase. It's just the reality of it. If you know that your seed phrase is like you haven't exposed it to anything, you can safely import it. It's just best practice to generate a new seed phrase. That's not to say that I haven't imported seed phrases from one wallet into another and they're still fine. It's really up to you. You can do it either way. Multi-sig with 3 different vendor self-custody wallets. If that's what you want to do, you can. It's not a requirement. For those of us moving to multi-sig, is a wiped, updated ColdCard still worth including as one signer? I would not, man. The ColdCard vulnerability is ongoing. Crypto is still being drained from ColdCard wallets. I wouldn't necessarily throw it in the trash, but I might use it as a cool paperweight or like something you can show your kids later on. But I would not be using ColdCard at this point. Absolutely not. MC Crisper says, really appreciate your channel. Had to re-educate myself on all other cold storage products out there. You were a huge helping hand in recovering funds from the CC fiasco. Well, I'm glad I could help. If you have your seed phrase, you can just use the same seed phrase on a different wallet if you lose your password. I don't know what you mean by if you lose your password, but yes, seed phrases are not hardware wallet specific. You can take one seed phrase and import it into another wallet. What do you think now? If I'm using a 20-word seed phrase on Trezor, should I consider switching to 24-word seed phrase after what happened with ColdCard, or is 20-word still fine? 20-word is fine. The entropy is still good. Isn't it better to have a Trezor ledger, since if a hack like ColdCard happens with them, they'll most likely make you whole versus ColdCard being a small company and can't refund you? That's not true. I don't think most companies have $110 million laying around to give users without having some other potential impact, right? So I wouldn't expect that from anyone, to be honest. Majestic Lawn Gnome. Just bought from your link my first Tangem wallet with the ring. Have had a ledger forever. Had a ColdCard. Luckily, didn't get my funds swept. Thank God. And move those funds. Thank you for the constant awesome info. Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate your support. And I'm glad you weren't a victim of ColdCard, and glad you're able to kind of navigate that, right? Checked your videos and didn't see this, but have you checked out BitKey? I have my issues with it, but also has some features for those wanting a sort of backup. I have a BitKey wallet. I haven't created an independent review of it, but I have mentioned it in a lot of my best cold wallet videos. Not a huge fan of the recovery methods and how, BitKey kind of keeps one portion of it. Again, I'm like I don't know if you want to call it old school, but like simple. Like I think having a seed phrase is awesome. It's like the simplest, form of security we have. And if you want to get a little more secure, put a passphrase, right? So that's just kind of how I like to do it. Frontier Marvin, you're absolutely welcome. Football Sin Corruption, does a wallet like Tangem that doesn't have updatable firmware have advantage when it comes to keeping bugs out? Yes and no, because the firmware can't be updated. So whatever the wallet ships with, that's the firmware that's on it forever, right? So that means new firmware can't be added to it where a bug could be introduced, but it's also true for the reverse. If the firmware has a bug, then the firmware can't be fixed because it's non-updatable, which is the case for Tangem right now. Jimmy says, thanks for all your videos. You give us good advice. Yeah, thanks. And I appreciate you saying that, and I will never claim to have all the answers. I'm a user just like everyone here. I'm a consumer just like everyone here. Until the day that I start my own hardware wallet company and build a team of people to build my own hardware wallet, I'm going to I'll be a consumer. I mean, just like you guys. So I rely on these companies and their products to secure my crypto, just like we all do. And I'm learning every day. This this specific incident has been a huge learning experience for a lot of people, myself included. David, I appreciate you. Jimmy says, when you get hacked like that, is there really anything you can do? And what will happen when we have AI powered quantum computers? Are we doomed? I mean, when your crypto is removed from your wallet, there's nothing you can do except from learn from that, and or maybe not. Depends. As far as the quantum threat is really something that needs to be solved at the blockchain level first. So the blockchain networks that our crypto lives on, they need to go through updates to implement whatever post quantum cryptography or code they need to implement to keep the crypto secure. Then the wallets will come in and implement that technology, right? So it starts at the blockchain level, from my understanding. Edward says, good stuff today. I'm heading out. Have a blessed day, everyone. Peace out, Edward. Thank you for joining the live stream and having good questions. Since Arculus is similar to Tangem, would that be a good choice to add a different brand of cold wallet for simplicity and diversification? Potentially. I recommend, if you are considering that, go on my channel or just type into YouTube Tangem versus Arculus. I compare the two in a video and just make sure that Arculus is a wallet that you want to use. That's all I'd say. Is it better to update your firmware day one for your wallet or wait if there are any vulnerabilities? I mean, you could be waiting a really long time. Like again, it took ColdCard. It took 5 years to exploit this ColdCard vulnerability. The recommendation is to generally update your hardware wallet as firmware updates are released. So that's what I would say. But yeah, like I said, we covered a lot in this video, a lot of stuff, it's a lot to take in. So rewatch the video if you need to. Like I said, I have my cold wallet research database where I went and gathered a bunch of data about all these different cold wallets: Tangem, Ledger, Trezor, EliPal, ColdCard, Keystone, SafePal. All of them, I gathered the wallet type, the security chips they use, the EAL ratings of the chips, or the other ratings, the source code, whether it's open or closed source, and any publicly disclosed vulnerabilities. I gathered all that data for over 44 wallets. I put it into a spreadsheet so that you can look at it, review it, and decide which wallet works best for you. Look at all those things and take it into consideration. And I dropped, that's just a simple Google Doc. It's down in the description. It's the first link in the description of this video. And this is just a public document. Anyone can go and look at it. Only I have edit access to it, so no one can change anything but me. The last update I made to it was today before the live stream, so it should be up to date. So you can go and do your research. And then also down in the description, I have links to 3 different wallet brands that I use to secure my crypto, which is Trezor, which you can get 10 to 20% off right now using my link. Ledger, you can get $10 to $20 in free Bitcoin right now using my link. And Tangem, you can get 20% off and free Bitcoin using my link. If you're looking for a new wallet. If not, then whatever, it doesn't matter. So. To be honest, there's only 2 things I learned from all this. 1, diversify crypto and different brands of wallets, and 2, have one empty just in case something happens. You can move quickly. Yeah, I mean, you don't need to have a wallet empty to move crypto to it, but you can if you want to. Is Tangem coming out with new stealth card colors? Maybe. I think they've only had white and black, so it's possible, but I have no idea. Bald says all your dumb questions are answered with a tiny bit of research. I don't think these are dumb questions at all. I think they're important questions. And I think everyone who's here trying to learn and better themselves, good for them. That's it, everyone. I got to run for now. Stay safe. Peace out. God bless. I'll keep you posted on any changes. Have a great day.